Okay. I think it's time to get started.
Yeah.
I'm going to call to order the oldest Lions Club in the world. And Mark, do you have some Zoom procedures for us?
Zoom procedures are like usual. If you're not speaking, please mute yourself because sometimes there's some background noise you're not aware of and it interrupts and interferes with our speaker. So if you're not speaking, please mute yourself. That's
okay.
it.
Well, I'm going to ask Steve Riley to lead us in the pledge.
All right. Sorry, I'm setting up. Where am I?
Bye. Not worried.
Do we have the, okay, good.
I found Canada Dry Club Soda there.
Yeah, that, I will
Found Canada Dry Club Soda. You did?
I'm unmuting. Okay, sorry. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now we honor the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Yeehaw.
Yeehaw.
There you go. Fully covered.
Linda, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yeah, I unmuted myself. Do we have any guests today? We have our speaker who will be introduced later on. So since we don't have any guests today, we do have 2 birthdays. JP's got a birthday coming up on the 16th. And Herb Canada has a birthday on the 17th. Any other birthdays that I've left out? Okay. We have several announcements and reports before our program starts. Steve Riley wanted to say something before we start on our program.
Thanks, Glenda. I'm trying to refine the glasses donations. JP, thank you for your insight a few weeks ago. I think we talked about, and I don't know if others had struggled with it, but oftentimes when I collect, I get obviously a lot of cases and whatnot. So JP, I think you mentioned your group did not have a pressing need at the moment for cases.
Correct.
Does anybody, and you can chat it to me or certainly hit me offline, but does anybody know of groups that might make use of just glasses cases? Because usually the standard operating procedure is to segregate the glasses from the cases and only to donate the glasses, which means a good majority of those cases are going to pulp or waste. So just if anybody knows of anything. And certainly if you can think of other ways to repurpose it or give it another life that we're not thinking of, we're open to that too. So, and thank you in advance.
Okay. Lotta Tyron is going to talk to us for a few moments. And Lotta, if you will unmute yourself, and we're looking forward to what you have to say.
Yes, thank you. It was pleasant to have met outside at the Moon Tower Saloon last month. It would be wonderful if we could learn from each other by rotating seats during our social gathering. This would be give us the opportunity to share hobbies, travels, backgrounds, and interests of new friends who we don't regularly visit. I can't wait to listen and share stories. It is an honor for me to be a member of the Lions Club. Thank you.
Thank you, Lotta. Appreciate that. And that's a good idea. You know, we get in our little cliques and we don't socialize like we should. So thank you for that reminder.
Well, Mark Hastings wasn't even there and he wouldn't sit by me either.
I was at a very long arm's length from JP.
Well, Anne has a couple of things to talk with us about today. So we're looking forward to hearing from her.
Okay, thank you, Glenda. I'm sorry I missed our program last week. I'm going to try to watch it. I think it was recorded. But I was in Fredericksburg for the Lions Camp Golf Tournament. This is the Harry Wickersham. And it was the 28th annual event. And it was a great day. We had 33 teams play. The weather was the coolest I can remember we've had in I don't know how many years. It was very pleasant. It was a great event. Everybody had a good time. We had some delicious food. And best of all, we met our goal, financial goal. And I'm not going to get into that too much because Milton is going to talk about that a little bit in his presentation. But I did want to say thank you to all of you in our club who helped make it so successful. First, I want to call out, give a shout out to Bill Martin. And I don't know if y'all can see this, but this is Bill's sign. Bill was one of our corporate sponsors. He was a gold sponsor. And so he had that sign. In addition, the corporate sponsors are listed in the program, which is right here. And if anybody wants to see one of those, I'd be glad to get you one. And then I also want to recognize those individuals as well as our club that donated to the whole sponsorships. And all of the names that I'm about to read out were listed on signage. And those signs were placed at various holes on the golf course. You'll be able to see our sign if you go to the next cabinet meeting. But this year we did something a little different in the program. We listed all the whole sponsorships. So all of these people that I'm about to read your name, you got recognition in our program. And that includes our club, and then Ken Crone, JP and Judy Kirksey, Chuck Mandelbaum, Rudy Munguia, John Niefler, in tribute to Rudy Munguia, Wes Phillips, who is Patty's husband, Sid Popinski, the Paul Ragsdale Foundation, which Mac Ragsdale is one of the trustees for that, Jim Roberson, Glenda Summers, and me. And so we had 11 individuals in our club contribute, and I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you, and thanks for helping support Texas Lions Camp. Okay, should I go on to the next report? Okay, well, I want to give y'all a little update on our sporting clay tournament, which we hope will take place on September the 17th. I'm optimistic because it is an outdoor event. It'll be at Capital City Clays, and we're doing really well. I've got some great people working with me. Thank you, Jim Roberson and Mac Ragsdale and Robert Watson. We are partnering again this year with the NFL Alumni Austin chapter, and we are also working with JDRF, the Austin chapter. And we give the bulk of the proceeds to JDRF. And most of you know JDRF works with type 1 diabetic children here in Austin. They do weekly.
Recording in progress.
They do weekly education programs for the families and children of newly diagnosed type 1 diabetic children. They also help us recruit type 1 diabetic children to attend Texas Lions Camp. I'm happy to report that we have 13 teams, and 6 of those are silver sponsors. And I think this is really cool. I have to tell you all this. We had 2 years ago, which is the last time we were able to have the tournament, we had 2 teams that were bronze, which meant they paid for 2 shooters at $500. Both of those groups have come back this year they're now silver sponsors. So they've gone from a $500 investment to a $1,500 investment. And I just think that's really great. It shows that they had a really good time and they support what we're doing. Also want to ask for your help.
Recording in progress.
We need to recruit some more teams and sponsors. And for the team sign up, if somebody is just signing up for a 4-person team, they get a discount if they sign up by the end of the day on Monday. So please reach out to people that you know and encourage them to sign up by the end of the day on Monday. It doesn't affect the sponsor levels, but it does the team registration. We also need some help getting some door prizes that we're going to give out, things like restaurant or gift certificates to restaurants or stores. This morning I got an email from Mac. He's gotten some gift certificates from Whole Earth Provisions. So those are kind of the kinds of things we need. We also will need some volunteers to work on the 17th. I will give you more detail on that later, but if you have time on that Friday and can come out, we will need some volunteers. It's a lot of fun. You'll get to meet a lot of the former NFL stars, many of whom wear their Super Bowl rings, and you get a chance to get your picture made with them. So it's really fun. The other thing I want to mention to you, we are raffling off. We always do a raffle in conjunction with this, and we are raffling off a shotgun. It's a legacy pointer over under 12 gauge shotgun. And if the person that wins it doesn't want this gun, he is willing to, Joe McBride is willing to allow them to apply the value of this gun to whatever they want to purchase. And I do want to give a special shout out to Joe McBride. He has donated the gun. In the past, he's given us a nice discount, but this year he actually donated the gun. So everything we sell on this is pure profit. So yay, and thank you, Joe. He also is going to allow us to set up and sell raffle tickets in his store. And I'm tentatively scheduling those 2 dates for August the 21st and September the 11th, and that'll be from 10 to 3. And Glenda is planning to help me on August the 21st. And if anybody else is available to help on either the 21st or September the 11th, please let me know and we'll get you signed up. It's going to be a really fun event. We have got Smoky Moe's will be coming back doing our barbecue lunch, and we've got Dunkin' Donuts for breakfast, and we're working on getting some breakfast tacos as well. So thank you. And if you've got any questions or if you're willing to help, please let me know. We'll also need some help on the 16th, late afternoon, to set up the canopies. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Ann. Very, very helpful. Very helpful. I have one more thing. I want to tell you it's not too late to register for the, pardon me? It's not too late to register for the U.S.-Canada Lions Forum in Des Moines, Iowa. And that's on Thursday, September the 9th through September the 11th. And Ann and Patty and I are going from our club. Does anybody else have anything they need to talk about before we move into the program?
I just wanted to add that Greg and Nanette are going to be attending. Also, Daisy will be attending the forum.
Good, good. All right.
We actually are not. Our plans changed because our return date for Daisy changed. But thanks for remembering us. Looking forward to it.
Well, we'll miss you then. That means Ann and I can get into trouble and nobody will know about it.
That's right.
Okay.
What happens in Des Moines stays in Des Moines.
Stays in Des Moines.
I want to remind anybody, because Ann kind of reminded me of this, is that all of our meetings here every week are recorded. with the speaker's permission. And Milton, I'm not sure if anybody's asked you, but I want to make sure we have your permission to record this meeting. Is that okay, Milton?
He's muted. Milton, you're muted.
Absolutely. No
Okay.
problem.
And they are posted up on YouTube. To find them, you just go to youtube.com, and in the YouTube search box, just type in Austin Founder Lions Club, and it shows all the recordings of our meetings. Because there's been lots of interest in this last week's meeting with genetic treatment, gene therapy for eye conditions. Anyway, if there's any meetings that you missed or couldn't come to, you can find it on YouTube.
Great, great. Well, Ann, it looks like you're on again. Would you please introduce our guest speaker?
It's my pleasure. I have known Milton Dare for many years. He's a longtime friend and colleague. I have his bio in the write-up that you got about the meeting, so I'm not going to go through it. But I just want to say that Milton is a real expert in his field. He's very well respected. I've known him for many years. He's worked at many different hospitals and been a very successful fundraiser. And I thought with our two upcoming fundraising events, we could probably benefit from some tips on how to be successful in fundraising. And then if we have time toward the end of our meeting, I asked Milton if he might share a little bit about what is going on at Texas Lions Camp. Just this week, construction is beginning on our new bunkhouses and the nature trail area. And it's a very exciting time. And so I've asked him if he has a few minutes after he goes through the presentation to talk about that as well. So Milton, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you, Ann. It is a pleasure to be here. I know a number of you. I've known JP for many, many years, and as well as Ann through my hospital work, and JP through my wife, who was in the Longhorn Band. And my wife survived 16 years living in Aggie land. So it's a fun time to be a part. And it's a fun time to be a Lion. And I'd like to share with you a short presentation. And if you'll allow me just a moment, let me pull up my slides. Well, I'm having a problem here, of course. There we go. Apologize. Can y'all see that?
We saw it briefly for a second. It said you were screen sharing and then
Okay, now we see it.
Okay, here we go. Sorry about that. Welcome to Texas Lions Camp. And today I want to talk about a number of things, presentation. And Anna asked me to talk about fundraising, and there is a difference between fundraising and development, and we'll cover that. And then development, about the building of relationships, and a little bit about the ask. So the hardest part of fundraising sometimes is looking across the the table from somebody and looking them in the eye and asking them to make a gift. So, and then talk about the numbers a little bit, the metrics, how important they are. Then how can we help as Lions, as individuals, as members of your club? Then talk a little bit about annual giving, growing the base, and then if we have a few minutes together, we build. So is everybody able to see that now?
Yes.
Okay, good. We'll talk a little bit about fundraising, and I use the term FUND fundraising because it is about fun, about having fun, about having an opportunity and hearing about your activities and actually having come to the sporting clays a couple of years ago. It is a very, very fun event, gives you an opportunity to do that. You're doing wonderful things in building relationships already with JD Diabetes Foundation Group, as well as the NFL Association. It's a wonderful connection that y'all made. Encourage you to continue to do that. It's really, fundraising is on solicitation. It's on building those initial relationships and identifying, doing public relations, creating some short-term goals, and usually a modest gift from a donor. If you look at scholarships, when I say modest, you know, $100, $250, $500, $1,000. Those are activities. Sometimes those are first-time gifts. Development, on the other hand, talks a little bit about long-term fundraising, long-term relationship building that opportunity to create a connection between the donor, between the organization, and it's where we extended cultivation. We spend time on education, and we're very attentive to the stewardship piece and to saying thank you. Obviously, in your fundraising piece with your events, saying thank you on a regular basis and a routine basis before, during, and after an activity is appropriate. It's an appropriate opportunity. Development sometimes, you know, the timetable for that is defined by the donor. You may, if you're looking for a $5,000, $10,000, $25,000 gifts, those don't come overnight, and you have to create that opportunity to build that opportunity to create a connection with your organization. And such gifts are life-changing, you know, for the organization as well as for the donor. Has anybody seen this, what we call the donor pyramid? Have you heard about that before? Anybody? Basically what this is, it's a tool to help explain the fundraising process, the development process. And you look at the base of the pyramid is basically annual giving. The middle range is major giving, and then ultimately planned giving. And as you move up, you look up the right-hand side of that, of the donor pyramid, you look at involvement, you look at interest, you look at creating and ultimately investment. And then on the left-hand side, you know, make contact with the donor. And that's what annual giving is all about. It's creating that initial contact through activities, through events, through membership programs, through direct mail, through things of that nature. And again, it's about making the base of that pyramid as broad as possible. So obviously this is not the kind of pyramid you want. You want a very wide-based pyramid on that. So think of that as we talk about some other activities today, and come back to that as you look at your own fundraising and your own development activities within your organization. You know, what can we do to build that base of support? What can we do to broaden that base of that pyramid? So again, remember the 5 I's. You want to identify, you want to have information, you want to have interest in involvement and investment. And obviously, as you go up that pyramid, you're going to intensify the types of activities that you participate. You want to create a connection with the prospect. You want to provide the information, and then ultimately, you know, obviously from day one, you want to invite them to participate in activities. So the events that you're doing are wonderful opportunities to bring somebody out to volunteer, to bring them out as a guest, to bring them out to come see what you're doing. And I encourage you to do that. So before before you go out and make an ask, just some questions you ought to think about. First and foremost, have you made your own personal gift or commitment? That's the one thing that I certainly do when I get ready for a campaign or event or activity. The first thing I do is sit down and write out my own check. Because it's pretty hard for you to go sit in front of somebody else and ask them to make a gift if you haven't made a gift yourself. It's one of the questions they're going to ask. Well, are you committed to this event? Are you committed to this organization? Are you committed to this activity? Do you have that investment? Do you understand the mission impact of the donation to Texas Lions Camp or to Austin Founder Lions Club? Can you explain the mission of what you're about? You need to be able to have some bullet points that talk about that as you go out and you visit with people. And then, your own personal situation. Why did you get involved? Is there a personal thing in your life that caused you to make a decision to get involved in Austin Founder Lions Clubs? Sometimes they're legacy opportunities. I know in the case of Ann, her father was a longtime Lion, and that encouraged her to continue to do that. So I encourage you to look in yourself and to know why you made that commitment. Do you have a personal connection to the mission? Again, a similar kind of activity. How has Austin Founder Lions Club impacted your life? I think you need to be able to share that kind of feedback with a donor if they ask that kind of question. And then, think about in what ways you could involve Austin Founder Lions Club. The biggest thing that people do nowadays is say, well, I know they won't make a gift. Well, they can't even say no if you don't ask. So you can say, well, yeah, they're going to say no. I said, well, if you ask them. And many times people say, well, I don't need that opportunity. But involving organizations in the cause, involving your friends, asking them to get involved, asking them to come to an activity is certainly a unique way and a wonderful way to begin building the base of that involvement in the pyramid process. And then what do you like? What do you love most about the organization? So these are questions I'm not looking for answers today from any of you, but certainly for you to think about and take these questions as you move forward, as you look at activities and events and activities, because they are extremely important to consider when you're making that pitch, when you're creating that first opportunity to get involved. So again, making the ask. You want to know your prospect first and foremost before you make any kind of ask. Who is this individual? What organizations are they associated with? Do they have connections to your Lions Club? Do they have friends within your Lions Club? Can you connect your ask with their interests? Do they have interests that align with the mission and with the organization of the Lions Club, or in essence of Texas Lions Camp? Know what you're asking for. When you go in, have an opportunity to before you go in, make some notes, jot down what you're going to ask for, and then have a fallback plan. So if somebody comes in and says, you decide you're going to ask for $1,000 sponsorship, and then individual looks at you and say, well, there's no way I can do that. Well, would you consider getting involved with this year, making a $100 gift, and come as my guest to the organization? I'll buy your ticket this year, to be a part of this. So again, it's getting them involved, involved. And then I would encourage you, when you're going to make the ask, to practice. Ann knows I worked for 4'9". Her name was Sister Gretchen, a nun. She was triple mastered and triple bachelor's degree as a nurse and educator and as a hospital administrator. But the one thing she couldn't do is sit across the table from a friend, in the community who was a donor and ask them for a major gift. So we literally helped teach her how to make the ask. And literally, we put her in front of a mirror and we had a conversation with her, and she learned great, and she became a great fundraiser. and a great development person. So again, keep it high energy. You want to cast a big vision of the organization because you have lots to bring to the table. So again, what's my testimonial? And the reason I share this is you need to know what your background is. When you go in and you sit down and you visit with somebody, they're going to ask you, well, how committed are you to the organization? If you're going into Add Century Club, it's the annual program for the camp of $100, $250, $500, $1,000 a year and up. We have a number of people across the state that help do that, but I can't go make that connection if I'm not a member myself. We have a life membership program at the camp. I'm a part of that. Obviously, working with the golf tournament, we're going to talk about that in a minute. I've made multiple gifts through my family, through my individual giving to that, and then gifts to the Together We Build program. We're starting a new campaign for rebuilding the camp. So all of these are activities, but again, when you make a personal ask, you need to be committed yourself first. So what about the metrics and the numbers? So I encourage you to know about your metrics of the organization. How many members do you have? What types of members do you have? What types of activities are you involved with? So what service projects do you have? What types of, what are the numbers based upon those service projects? Have you done eye screenings? Have you done other types of activities for that? Be able to share some of those numbers and routinely update those so members of the club have that information. So I'm going to share a little bit about Texas Lions Camp. In a normal summer, which were 18 and 19, we had 1,506 and 1,512 children come to the camp. And one of the things I've done since I've been here at the camp, I've been looking for not only expanding Lion support, but I've been looking for non-Lion funding and opportunities. And one of the things I've done is been able to break down where do those 1,506 kids come from. So I can tell you for a particular year now, what county, what city these come from. And as you sit down to foundations that have specific guidelines, well, Texas Lions Camp is located at Kerrville. They're not in Austin. But, I can tell you that we had several hundred children come from Austin, Texas. And at $2,100 per child per week times 200, that's a sizable investment that Texas Lions Camp makes in Austin, Texas. And I can tell you that one stat in and of itself is a huge positive force when we sit down and we visit and start creating relationships with foundations and corporations as well as individuals. So in 2020, we had 1,034 campers. We had to reinvent ourselves. We didn't come on campus. We had virtual camp. So we registered 1,034 campers. And again, I was able to go back and drill down after the summer was over, which is what I'm doing now. And then this summer, we transitioned a little bit differently this summer. We continued our virtual camp through the TLC Times newsletter, and we also created family camp this summer. So we decided we couldn't have 1,500 children on campus, but we decided we could invite families that had children with special needs to come, and they were invited to bring a sibling. So we had 14 sessions this summer, 2 sessions per week, in physical disabilities in June, and then July was type 1 diabetes. So we had a great time. Had over 250 families come this summer, and we created in our bunkhouses 12 living spaces for families to go stay in those living spaces. So it was a great program. Again, we're kind of reaching out, kind of looking for new things, looking for new opportunities. So over the course of 72 years now, over 80,000 children have come to camp. And that's a number, and these are numbers that you can certainly share. But as people want to know, well, what about Texas Lions Camp? How long has it been around? Well, it's over 72 years. We're approaching our 75th anniversary. And over 80,000 children have come and been cared for here at Texas Lions Camp. I want to say thank you to you. Take a minute. An important metric for us is the support of our Lions clubs. And so Austin Founder Lions Club, I went back and looked at the information. Over $111,000 has come from your club in the last 22 years. So we want to say thank you for your continued support of the organization. And we encourage you to continue to do that. So let's talk about how can we help. From the standpoint of Texas Lions Camp, you know, obviously we want to bring more campers to the summer. In the case of Austin Founder Lions Club, how can we help our club? How can we look for opportunities to become involved? How can we encourage other people to be involved? So I ask you to look for those important metrics as you look at yourselves. From the standpoint of TLC, you know, how can we get involved with TLC? Come out to TLC. How many have been to the camp? Have most of y'all been to the camp? Wonderful. So, you know, being involved, we hope in 2022 we're back to normal. Our Friday Awards Night celebrations, if you have not been to one of those, it is a life-changing experience. I encourage you to do that. So work days, again, first Saturday of March, April, and May. I know I've met many of you on a work day and encourage you to continue to do that. And then there, you can get involved through a camp committee. And I won't go into detail on this next slide, but I wanted you to see kind of some more of the metrics, the numbers related to the camp. If you just took our budget of about $3.1 million a year and divided it by 1,500, it's about $2,100 per camper per week. And the Lions, 22,500, totaling through dues of $21 a year is about 472,000. That's about 15% of our budget. But you know, we used to have 45,000 Lions across the state of Texas, each giving $21. That was $1 million. So, you know, we've had to look for new alternatives, new revenue opportunities. And so that's been important for us. So through annual giving, through stock, through matching gifts, through IRAs, I don't know if any of you have considered IRA gifts to various charities. We certainly accept those at Texas Lions Camp, encourage you to consider those opportunities. So just a couple of our events and activities. Our annual program, annual Christmas card program comes every year. We raise about $100,000. That's one of our great tools in bringing new people to the table and finding first-time donors. It's amazing to me every year how many first-time donors give and how many people give every year. This is their way to give every year, and they participate in that. But how can you say no when you get that kind of card in the mail with that many kids? So let's talk about the golf tournament. Our golf tournament historically is a little over, when I got involved, it was the 25th anniversary. We wanted to take it to the next level. We were raising about $50,000 to $60,000 a year. We partnered with the Fredericksburg Lions Club. They operate the tournament. We sell $100 hole sponsorships. Stephen and I sat down, Mabry and our president CEO sat down, and we talked about how could we grow this tournament to the next level? How could we get it to continue to support? So we made a call on James Avery. I happen to know Chris Avery, who's the chairman of the board. Made a call on him one year. We got a grant. We went back to say thank you to him. He looked at the report, turned around to us and said, how can I help you this year? Well, what a great opportunity to open the door to additional stewardship and additional opportunity. And so what we did, we visited with him about the 25th anniversary. We were $150,000 away from $1 million over 25 years to the club. He agreed to a challenge grant program of $75,000 that year. That program continued the next year. We brought the group out the next summer for a check presentation on a Friday night. And he was inspired. The organization was inspired. They made a $100,000 commitment that night. And so that's grown into over $250,000 over 4 years. And in the last 5 years alone, the tournament has raised another $700,000. So again, the goal, the opportunity, the commitment we found from the donor had a lot to do with stewardship, about building that relationship and getting them involved with our organization. So again, our high point at this point, we raised $265,000 in 2019, the 70th anniversary year of the camp. If you look in the lower half corner down here, there was a poster that was up all summer at our amphitheater. So every time, you know, we had 600 to 800 families walk into that amphitheater, they were able to see this banner and see the involvement of James Avery with our organization. So again, I talked about commitment. Fredericksburg Lions Club has been involved for 28 years. Lester Bronson has been our tournament chair for 28 years. So quite a commitment they are, and they've been great partners with us and have worked to build support. So again, the things we did as far as next level for y'all to think about, we created corporate sponsorships. I know y'all are doing that with your fundraising that you're doing. We expanded our golf program, and Ann showed you that. We certainly can provide that to you. We went to new donor recognition with corporate signage that we didn't have before, and we upgraded and expanded our Lion Hold sponsorship signage. The first year we did this, which has been a couple of years now, we found a local sign company who was willing to donate their services and their time to assist us. And then we found another line that had a connection in Temple, Texas, and he was able to get the signs printed for no cost. So about a $2,300 investment every year was donated the first year, and we've gotten in-kind support in the past. Ann has done the program, and she found a printer in Austin who was supportive, and a designer who was able to donate their services every year to that. So obviously, doing a 16-page 4-color program would not have been possible without the support of orders. So opportunity, it may not be a cash gift you get the first time. It may be that opportunity to get a gift certificate for a round of golf, or a gift certificate for a dinner, or a gift certificate for some type of in-kind opportunity. So I encourage you to think about that as you visit with people. So we were offered an opportunity. We partnered with a new organization. Everybody probably knows Mo Ranch up here in the Hill Country, and they do an annual polar bear plunge, which is January 1st every year. And so we were selected as the recipient of that, which then we turn around and help raise money. The most money they had ever raised from this polar bear plunge was $70,000, which was a real high mark. Well, we raised $325,000 with that this past year, which was a record turnout. And as you look at this polar bear plunge court over here, there are Lions involved, but there are also local corporate involvement of people who have been involved with it. And again, there's that opportunity on committees to look for non-Lions to involve them in the process. Another opportunity, especially during what's changed in our lives with this virtual world and online opportunities, we found a Lion up in the McKinney area who's called the World Piano Man, and he does online concerts, and he did an online fundraising concert, and everybody called in and pledged, and we raised $17,000 on August 27th, 2020. And it was a great evening of activities. And again, those kind of opportunities are out there, and I encourage you to look for those opportunities. Again, growing the base of support is important. Expanding your circle of friends. Who do you know that can help Austin Founder Lions Club? There are new people out there. Ann mentioned a number of Smoky Mo's who I've known for years, having grown up in Austin, and a number of different activities, the McBrides. You know, all of those are people that have been involved and are willing to give, but you got to go ask. So a couple of examples of things that have happened over the past few years, I've been looking for foundation and grant money, looking for new money for the camp. I went up and made a presentation to the Carrollton Evening Lions Club at the request of past council chair John Eaves. Sitting there that night was Lion James Marks. He happened to be the president of Hub Insurance, for personal insurance in Texas for Hub. And he came up after the meeting, and one of my big presentation points was looking for new money, looking for new opportunities to get new organizations involved. And he said, well, you know, Milton, he said, the insurance industry in Texas has a charitable foundation. And I think Texas Lions Camp ought to apply. So he gave me his card. That has resulted in $30,000 in grants to the camp. And we've been very, very proud of that relationship. And again, we went up to their galas. Again, the last one was 2019. They're hoping to get started again this year. One other story, you look back of people that have maybe been involved with your organization in the past. We received money from Santiga, which is the San Antonio Telecommunications Golf Association, which was started by Chet Todd. You might remember the name Southwestern Bell, which was a forerunner of AT&T, and then AT&T went back to Southwestern Bell. Well, Chet Todd developed a golf association to encourage his managers to become involved together. That evolved into a 501c3 organization, and there was a lion on that board until 2013. Well, in 2013, Texas Lions Camp quit receiving grants from the organization. And so I made a call. I talked to Stephen Mabry, and he said, I think you need to come and go visit with them and see what the opportunities are. So we did that, and basically they do an annual golf tournament. They do it up in Burnett, Texas. They're from San Antonio. The reason they go to Burnett is that they get economic development money from the Burnett County Economic Development Group. So since 2017, by providing some volunteers and attending their 3-day event, we've received donations of over $34,000. And again, that's all about reconnecting, doing stewardship, and involvement of the organization. And I've worked to involve Lions clubs up in the Marble Falls, Burnett, Highland Lakes area. So we have a number of foundations that give to the organization, and we're very proud of that. But again, it's continued cultivation, it's continued stewardship, it's continued opportunity to share the message, either online, through Zoom calls now, or certainly as we have opportunities to have one-on-one meetings. So again, locally as well as statewide, we've gone out to Midland, we've gone to Lubbock, we've gone to Dallas, we've gone to Houston, looking for opportunities for people to be involved, as well as Austin and San Antonio. So at this point, let me stop, and I've talked a lot, and see if there are any questions that I might be able to answer. And we have a few minutes. I'd be happy to talk a little bit about Vision 2020. Ann?
Well, if you have a question, I think you're just going to have to speak up, or else, Milton, you're going to have to stop sharing your screen because I can't see anybody's hand.
Okay.
So if you have a question, just unmute yourself and shout it out.
Well, I'm happy.
Milton, do you have it's Steve Riley. Is there sort of a best practice as a way of identifying a donor who, like in my world, once somebody puts me under review, I've lost the account. So is there a way to do you guys have a way of finding out what donors might be sort of vulnerable either to not being in contact, non-being engaged, or a variety of other reasons? Because it looks like he did a great job of resuscitating that San Antonio group. So I just was curious how that would work.
Well, from our standpoint, we sit down and we look at our existing donor base, and run some reports called LIBUNT, SIBUNT, which basically it says they gave last year, they gave some year, but not this year. So from a database standpoint, we can go back in and look at people and giving, and that's how we identified this Antigua group. From the standpoint of, as I talk to Lions clubs and Lion groups, one of the things I ask for is to look within your own circle. So as you think about how you can involve people and get them to participate with the organization, you know, your own circle of friends through church, through social groups, through business acquaintances, and create that opportunity to share the story and to invite them to come to a meeting of the group, invite them as COVID will allow the next few months, but certainly open the door to do that. And you know, creating that baseline relationship and getting them involved with the organization in some way, whether it's an opportunity for lunch or dinner, or just sit down, let's have some coffee. Can I tell you my story and the things that we're doing? And again, going back to you know, a little bit about the metrics and a little bit about the mission and the things of service that the organization does. And you know, creating that connection with the donor or the prospect opportunity is one of the best ways, I think, to get that started.
Thank you for that. It's a great answer.
Well, let me go on and talk a little bit about kind of the vision of Texas Lions Camp. In February 2020, we approved the Vision 2020 long-range plan, basically a 10-year plan to rebuild the camp. With COVID in the spring of 2020, we put our fundraising on hold and put the project on hold. Now we've made the decision to move forward with phase one, with the initial phase of that, much of it being funded through the trust fund from wills and bequests that have been given to the camp through the years, through opportunities to continue to give. And what does Vision 2020 mean to the camp? It basically means we're going to continue with one campus, which is 515 acres. And those of you that have been out here know how expansive that is. But we're only using about 100 acres of that 500 acres. And so this is an opportunity to create some new nodes or some new camps within the campus. So the first one is our Eagle Trail project. And second, we want to create new atmospheres to encourage people to continue to give, increase the types of housing that we have. Right now, we've had traditional bunkhouses and traditional housing. This summer, we opened the doors to family housing that was well received. And we want to move that direction. That will also open up the opportunity, we hope, to working with other nonprofit organizations, as well as working with corporate activities in the future. Then obviously adding those activities like splash pads and things like that that are going to engage our kids. The umbrella that we're using is Together We Build. So if you hear that or look at this heart and look at this, you can know that this is the project and this is the umbrella under which we're raising money and moving forward with this project. So the initial phase is to create, many of you may remember that in spring of 2020, we had some storms after the March workshops, work days that we had, and it basically took the roof off of bunkhouse 2 and laid it on top of the other end of that. And then we went through and began the process of reconstruction and filing for insurance and all of that. And then we had another storm in May, and that destroyed that bunkhouse. So we had to take that down, and then we had to redevelop the plan to say, what can we afford to do now, and what's the best direction we need to go. So we're going to be taking down bunkhouse 1, the Real dorm as well, some of our Jackson dorm. Those will be coming down, and we'll be building eventually 8 new bunkhouses. Because if you look at our bunkhouses, they're all in the 60, 65, almost 70-year range as far as age. And so it's time, they're way beyond their economic viability and physical viability. And so we're working, we need to update those and basically replace them. So the new bunkhouses will have 3 wings, and some of them have only had 2 and some of them have had 3. Well, they'll all have 3 wings, which will allow us to have additional children involved, 30 to 40 children, about 6,700 square feet. And we're looking forward to that opportunity. So we've created some naming opportunities for individuals, for foundations, and for corporations, from helping, replace the furniture at 25,000 and up, to naming the lobbies, to rooms, to complete bunkhouses. Obviously, with the last couple of months and what's happening with price increases, those are beginning to come back down. Wood is now settling down and a little better price. So we're excited to see some of those adjustments occurring. The Eagle Trail cabins, if you look north from kind of west northwest from the dining hall, there's a trail that's going to be expanded into an activity where there will be 12 new tiny houses. You've heard the term tiny house. It's going to be that type of construction. We've contracted with the company to help build those. We'll be building foundations and infrastructure initially and all that process is starting here in August. So we're going to provide flex space for programs, because as we've always been a summer activity, but the goal is ultimately that we'll be able to create and offer off-season activities to organizations and potentially corporate partners as well. So just from Stephen Mabry, if you've ever wanted to have a meaningful naming opportunity at TLC, you could not ask for a more golden opportunity than the cabins and cottages that will be placed along the Eagle Trail, starting with the fall of 2021 at TLC. We would be happy to provide more information, to visit with you individually or as a club, and encourage you to do that. We've had a number of, this past weekend, we had a record total of giving to the camp. We had 3 individuals step up and give $75,000 commitments to help build some of the Eagle Trail cabins. So we've got opportunities there for porches and kitchens and rooms, to 1, 2, and 3 bedroom activities, to a small bunkhouse within the Eagle Trail project. A total of 12 new buildings. But again, the goal ultimately is that these may be able to operate independently from the rest of the camp. So we don't have to have the entire camp open. Potentially, we could use some of those different activities. So they will have, I believe, kitchen facilities, and so there's going to be opportunities for that. So ultimately, for us as Texas Lions Camp, what are we going to do about the children? How are we going to be able to care for them? As we look to the future, you look at the statistics, the need to care for children with disabilities is going to continue to grow as we move forward. So I want to say thank you to each of you for your attention today. I want to say thank you for your talents, your time, and your treasures that you give to the camp as a club, individually, your service that you give in coming out for work days. I can tell you that there was no way that we could afford to hire enough staff to do everything the Lions help us do on a routine basis. Those work days are an amazing process of 400 to 500, 600 people showing up, working and coming together for common cause to improve things for children. So as Lions, and as Texas Lions Camp, it is together we work together that we serve, and it is together that we will continue to be successful in the future. So I thank you for the opportunity to visit with the group, and be happy to answer any additional questions.
Milton, maybe you could stop sharing your screen at this point so we can see people.
There we go.
Yeah, so does anyone have any questions for Milton? I know we're running out of time, but well, I just want to say thank you very much. I appreciate the update on the camp and appreciate your good background on fundraising, helping us understand kind of the mechanics, and it is about building relationships. And I think certainly with an event like the Sporting Clay, we're seeing those relationships. Some of these teams have been coming for 10 years, and it's nice to see the same groups coming back year after year. So I think that we are building strong relationships.
One of the things I'd like to add in related to your sporting plays, and you do a great job on this, but I would encourage y'all to continue to do it. When the event's over, that's a great opportunity to go back to those sponsors and to have members of the club take a copy of the program, take something along, and go sit down and visit with those donors and thank them for their giving, because they greatly appreciate that.
Good idea. Thank you so very much. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, Greg, I think then that, would you tell us about the program for next week?
Sure, I'd be glad to. I've been working for the last couple of years with the Commission on State Emergency Communications, which is the state agency that oversees funding and standards for the 911 system, but also is responsible for the statewide coordination of the Texas Poison Control Network. So next week, Tommy Ferguson, who is the community education specialist with the Central Texas Poison Center, which is a part of that state network, is going to join us, and we'll be talking about poison safety. So,
thank you very much. I have a couple of important dates for your calendar, dates to remember. This coming Saturday, August the 14th, is our new member orientation, and that's going to be by Zoom. We have a board meeting on the 19th. We have we're celebrating Tommy's Cowan's birthday on August the 28th. And as far as I know, it's still on. It's going to be outdoors, so there'll be lots of spacious room. So I think that's still on. And then the Sporting Clay is September the 17th. And Ann Ward is in charge of that. And then the Casino Night fundraiser that Patty Robinson is the chair of is going to be September the 24th. So we're going to be busy, and we're going to need everybody's help. And want to thank everybody for today. Does anybody else have anything to say before we close? Well, thank you. It was a great program. Thank you, everybody that attended, and look forward to Zooming with you next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody. Great seeing you.
Thank you again, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you.
Thanks, everyone.